Good morning, YouTube. Warbles on a lot here. The morning after a spot of firefighting practice. Yes. The ground is all wet. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? The ground is wet. And all the critters are enjoying it. The water doesn't quite extend all the way to the front gate. It only gets to about there. Here the ground is dry. Over there we go from dry, and there we have the demarcation line. And we have wetted down. The 36-metre hose allows me to stand here and almost wet the gate, while reaching pretty much as far out in that direction. Soak all that down, then move across and soak the same distance out on the other side of the driveway. And by varying the pressure and the angle of the nozzle, you can vary your droplet size and do a pretty fair job of watering the forest floor. And the undergrowth pretty much out to about here. And by doing it just on sundown when there's no wind, a bit of moonlight, the water gets all night to soak in. Better coverage here. This is delightfully wet. And of course, I can actually come out to about here and water around in all directions. So this morning, the moss and the lichen is growing up valiantly to cover over the rocks around here. And the big question was, how far out can I actually wet down the forest floor and make a difference? Well, here's one way to figure it out. This stuff is pretty dry, so when I walk on it, it makes a noise. Over here, the leaves have been wetted down. Out here we're making a noise. Here, no noise. So this got wet. Over there it didn't. My theory is if I can get this vegetation here to hang on to some water at sort of about this distance from the driveway, and I should be able to stand on the driveway. Oh yeah, here's a pretty good demarcation line. I wet that stuff over there down really hard. If I can get the vegetation out here holding water, and this stuff, instead of cooking me, should suck the heat out of the fire front and allow me to stand over there on the driveway and pour water out as fast as my little hose can do. Speaking of which, got all of this stuff as well. I can, various different ways, get myself up to being about here, and everything in there, as well as everything for about 15 metres out past the end of the cars. It all got hosed down. This is all sounding like wet leaves. Some of this is dry. Yeah, this is dry. So there's a limit to what you can achieve. I thought I got further out than that last night when I was doing it. Now this stuff's definitely wet. And this stuff's definitely dry. So I can sort of get about to here, shooting from just level with the front of the Brumby. This stuff over here is dry. Yeah, whereas this stuff's pretty wet. That's good. I'm glad I can wet this stuff down. Can't do much about all that though. Wet down everything under the aeroplane trailer. Got all of this stuff wetted down. Out, yeah, to about here. And I'm sort of on the boundary of the wet line along there. That stuff there's dry. And that there is pretty much your boundary line of how far I can get with the water. Over there it's dry. Just here I'm sort of on a little bit of a far corner of the envelope. However, yeah, it's all wetted down here. Wetted down. Dry. Wet. Dry. So I can get the water out to here. And last night I did. Mrs. Whitetail and the little Joey that now has hair. This is sort of on the boundary line. I can see the water here. Not much out here. There, we can see actual water on a leaf on the ground. And there's more. It's a 36 metre, 25 millimetre hose with a 3 horsepower pump. Not much water got past the fence. I don't think, judging by the noise of the footfalls today, but we'll see what we get on my side. Pretty dull, pretty dead. There's water on a leaf out in the middle of the tea tree scrub. Which lies between the driveway and the fence. So number 1 buoy wall has about 5,000 litres in it. Number 2 buoy wall did have 5,500, it's now got 371. 5 centimetres, 74.3 centimetres, litres to the centimetre. And today I'm going to transfer water from the 6,500 litre buoy wall into the 5,500 litre buoy wall, and then I'll pump out again, and then I'll shell out for another load of water. Last night what I learned is that it takes an hour and a half with this little Chinese 3 horsepower motor going absolutely flat out, and the hose opened pretty much all of that time. There might have been a few minutes when I had it shut off walking backwards and forwards to clear the hose from rocks and obstacles, and it did that all on 1 tank of petrol, leaving about half an inch, maybe 2 centimetres in the bottom, as the dipstick shows. The other thing I learned is that the ultraviolet cover retreating with the water level actually holds the water up against the pump inlet, and you can get a lot closer to the bottom of the tank. And the flat plastic membrane on top of the pickup, which by this point is laying sideways on the bottom of the tank, where it would otherwise have been fairly sure to suck air. So that was a whole bunch of good lessons to learn. My next trick will be to measure the fuel refill for the pump, figure out how much it burns per hour, as well as move the pump from where it is to a new location where it can suck from these 2 tanks, rather than these 2 tanks, without having to be physically relocated in the middle of a fire. And the horizontal figure 8 flaked hose arrangement, it worked pretty well too. If I can go into spring with 20,000 litres in the ground and 16,000 litres in the tanks ready to go, I might have a chance. I hope, perhaps. Time will tell. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.